Johnsons. This is the Luke Johnson that covers the Saints for The Advocate in New Orleans. Kind, as always, to spend a few minutes with us. Practice rolling along, camp rolling along. Luke, what's the latest? What is grabbing your attention the most right now?
Oh man, it's hard not to just gush over Michael Thomas right now.
Yeah.
You know, I think he's just been stacking a lot of really, really good days together, and then he came out today and was like just completely dominant today. Nobody had any chance against him. I think at one point he caught, they're doing some red zone stuff, and he caught like four straight targets for touchdowns. Whether it's man coverage, zone coverage, good coverage, anything they're throwing at him, nothing's really working for the defensive side, and I think that's very, very good news for the Saints. And he was even doing it with Andy Dalton out there at quarterback today, which, when we're thinking about peak Michael Thomas, 2019, it didn't matter whether he had Drew Brees or Teddy Bridgewater throwing to him. He was putting up huge numbers, and I think that's kind of what we're seeing right now. So, at this stage in camp, they've kind of been going for a couple weeks now, and we're starting to get a pretty good sense of where everybody is. And I think, with Mike in particular, first day at camp, it was like, okay, he's off PUP, and they're only letting him do individuals, but he looks pretty good running. And now he's to the point where it's like, okay, this looks like 2018 or 2019 Michael Thomas. Just completely unstoppable force out there.
Is there any thought of, okay, you've seen what you need to see from Michael Thomas, shut him down, wrap him in bubble wrap, and we'll see you on opening day?
I'm sure they're having those conversations. I think Dennis Allen's been pretty forward thinking in terms of how he's using his veterans in training camp. I think Mike is a special case just because he's coming off of those last 2 years where he hasn't played a lot of football lately. So maybe the reps are more beneficial for him than they would be for others. But, we've seen Ryan Ramczyk play 10 first team snaps this entire training camp, when they're out there doing like full team stuff. I think they're just like, okay, you don't need the reps. We'd rather, take like a load management approach with you and make sure you're out there getting your technique work, but don't be banging around with all the big guys. I think they've done similar stuff with Demario Davis and Alvin Kamara. And, I think it's possible that Mike could show him that he's good to go and he doesn't need the reps anymore. It might be difficult to have that conversation with him because he's a competitive guy, but that's kind of how they've been working stuff this camp, and that's why it wouldn't be a surprise to me to see them sit a significant chunk of their important starters during the preseason opener on Saturday.
So you gush about Michael Thomas. Are you sure you're not misplacing that praise? Are you sure it's not Andy Dalton who was just setting him up to look great over and over and over again, and this is a reemergence for Andy Dalton?
I think Andy Dalton's a good quarterback. I think he's been.
I tried to say that with a straight face, by the way.
Yeah, look, I think they brought in Andy because they've gone through 4 straight seasons now where their starter got hurt. I guess the last time their starting quarterback made it all the way through a season fully healthy was in 2018, and even Drew Brees was dealing with stuff then, and he wasn't the same player down the stretch. So they've been shown, sometimes painfully, just how important it is to have a capable number 2, and with Damon with inner injury right now, Andy's getting a chance to show that he's still got some juice as a quarterback. I don't think you necessarily want him out there for a full 17-game season. I think there are probably better options, and this is a team that believes that it has a chance to make a very good run this year, and you want the best possible quarterback play for that, obviously. But I don't think they're going to be like markedly worse if Andy Dalton has to come in and spell Jameis Winston for a stretch, because of injury or whatever. Yeah, I think he's a very, very capable veteran number 2 quarterback, and I mean, he showed that today. He was awesome today. I don't think you can just count on him to go out there and just sling it around the yard. I don't think he's going to be putting up like a 50 touchdown season anytime soon, but very trustworthy as number 2. It's really like a nice safety blanket to have.
So, Luke, you mentioned Jameis obviously dealing with the injury. Do we know anything? I know that we're hearing day-to-day, foot, he's okay, no big deal, nothing to worry about. But is that what you're hearing also?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I heard before Dennis came out and said it the other day. I think they are. I think they feel like they kind of dodged anything major with this. I wouldn't expect to see him out of practice tomorrow, and I certainly wouldn't expect to see him in the preseason opener.
Okay.
But it wouldn't be a surprise to see him back out there when they're practicing against the Packers in Green Bay next week. In fact, I'm kind of expecting that. So, I think they're not trying to hide anything with this. I think they know that if he was dealing with something really significant that's potentially threatening any regular season playing time, it'd be out there by now.
In terms of holdouts, guys to keep an eye on, contract stuff, is there anything that we really need to be looking at right now, or is kind of everything moving along?
Well, we haven't had a chance to talk to him, but it's been reported that C.J. Gardner-Johnson was holding himself out of some of the competitive aspects of practice, some of the 7-on-7 and 1-on-1 and full team stuff that he'd normally be participating in for a little while. And I think you can see from just watching him, I don't think that he's particularly happy with the situation.
Sure.
But he hasn't said anything publicly about it, so I think it's just worth keeping an eye on that for a while. I think that's going to be a really interesting situation because you talk to him and he clearly believes he's among the NFL's best, if not the best, slot defenders. And I guess we're going to see whether or not the Saints believe that's true. And also what the value of that position is. I think the top flight outside corners make somewhere in the range of $18-19 million a year, and that's probably going to jump over 20 sometime soon. Whereas the leading nickel defenders are vastly underpaid comparatively, and making like $8 or $9 million a year. And I think there's probably a disagreement over where CJ stands in that matter, at least in negotiations. I think it's something to watch out for. I don't know if anything's like really imminent on that, but kind of keep tabs on it as camp goes on.
Hey, quick thought here, and I really don't have enough time to dive into it too deeply. We were just talking about the receiving core, and you look up and you got Marquez Callaway as the 4, Michael Thomas, obviously what he brings. You go out and you get Chris Olave. We'll see what that looks like in his rookie season. Is there an argument to be made that the Saints have maybe the best top 4 receivers in the NFL?
Yeah, well, this is kind of the tricky part, is because after the pretty well established top 3 with Thomas, Olave, and Jarvis Landry, I think the guys who kind of cycle in after that will be kind of matchup dependent and formation dependent. So some days it might be Deontay Hardy, and some days it might be Traquan Smith, and other days it might be Marquez Callaway. But I certainly think that if Michael Thomas is as good as he appears to be right now, and if Chris Olave is as good as we're expecting him to be, I think it's up in that conversation. And it's like way better than anything they've had in the last 5 years, basically since Michael Thomas's rookie season when they had him and Brandon Cooks side by side. So, I think that just elevates this offense so much because I think they're going to have a really good rushing game this year, especially if those receivers open up little space for those guys to operate. And I think that just makes everything so much more dangerous with this team. So, yeah, I think they belong in that conversation, but they kind of have to prove it first.
Luke, thanks as always.